Hi, my name is Lauren Errington. I'm the Executive Director of the Family Systems Institute, and I'm joined by Dr. Jenny Brown, who is the Director of the Parent Hope Project and the Clinical Director at the Family Systems Practice. And we're bringing to you today our newly published article, Bowen Family Systems Theory, Illustration and Critique Revisited. Jenny, I'm going to ask you, because it's a revisited article, because it's 25 years since you published the original version of this article, which was Bowen Family Systems Theory, Illustration and Critique. Could you say something about your thinking about bringing this article for revision and our collaborative project?
Yeah. It's amazing for me that 25 years have gone by. And when I wrote it in the late 90s, I had only discovered Bowen theory in the early 90s, around 1992 to 94. So I was still really new at grappling with this deep and rich theory. It resonated with me so much at that time that I wanted to put my learning into a paper that particularly presented this theory to the Australian family therapy audience. And 25 years on, people have been asking for a revision for a long time. I'm really glad that this new edition on Bowen theory prompted me to say, let's do it, Lauren. It's time. This article can introduce the new edition of the journal that is dedicated to Bowen theory really well. So I'm glad we've done it. It hasn't been easy to review this whole theory. Well, how have you found the process?
I mean, I read your article as a student studying Bowen theory, and it was an important resource for me. And so it's been a pleasure to join with you collaboratively and to work on the updates and think about the developments over the last 25 years in Bowen theory, as a, in thinking about that field and clinical practice in particular. It has been a difficult project because there's so much in the theory, and there's never going to be one resource that covers everything. And I know from my role in training people, there's always this question about, well, what do you actually do in the room when you're with people? And I think, this article, we've tried to really, with deep respect for the theory, bring together the key theoretical principles and talk about them and provide a bit of an overview of them, and really tease out, well, what does this look like when you're actually sitting in the room with people and thinking about the family system?
Yeah, that's a great summary, Lauren, of what we've partnered to do together. That we start with an overview of the theory and its key concepts, and we include the key developments over the period and the key critiques that are really important to look at and be discussion starters. I don't think we've tried to resolve every criticism, but to really open up some thoughtful, non-reactive responses, and then a clinical example, and then pulling it all together. Do you want to briefly add your thoughts on what we've tried to cover in the critique and then the clinical application?
Yeah, look, I think the critique section for me, it follows a section talking about the innovations over the last while in Bowen theory, of which there has been a lot of research and development in thinking, in different quarters of the world, kind of thinking about this. For me, the critique section is really important because in our family therapy training program, these are the questions that get asked all the time. What about working with families of different cultures? What about what people have come up against in training in Gottman's approach of working with couples? What about family violence? And we touch on these things, they're conversation starters. But for me, it's really important kind of, in an academic journal that we're able to say, I think the theory has some things to offer in thinking in all of these complex spaces. And to invite people into that conversation. So that's been really important for me.
Yeah. And what about the choosing a clinical example? I know that has been your piece, Lauren, which I think has been really helpful to add. And in fact, it's the area that I look at my original clinical example and it tells me how little I understood back then about, I was so much more about how family of origin themes are lived in the present, which is only one piece of it. I didn't understand or write about the complexity of what you do with that. So I'm really pleased all these years later that there is a case example that really shows how practical the theory is translated to the therapy room. Your thoughts on that?
You know, my thoughts are it's about, you know, really thinking about how do you work with people in the room and bring their own agency to the table and their own resources and thinking, you know, and the clinician's role in getting alongside people, you know, and people who know me in my other work know that I'm really interested in that being a collaborative project of kind of tracking what that looks like in practice in the relationship interactions and those sorts of things. So there's a glimpse of that, I think, in this case study, but also inviting those conversations and people's thinking about what's familiar about these emotional processes. And often that's where those family of origin pieces come alive, you know, and the intensity of relationship processes that can play out in our current relationships, especially with our most significant relationships in family. So I think it touches on that. It's never going to do everything, but you know, for me, it's a case example that illuminates some of those kind of key things coming together.
Well, we look forward to hearing feedback.
Yeah, I can't wait.
We'll access the article.
Yep. Thanks.